Hi, hello everyone, and welcome to the webinar. Thank you so much for joining us again this month. I cannot wait to dive into the content that we have for you today. We have a really great presentation, and I have a special guest who's going to be coming in alongside me, walking through all of this content for you guys. So welcome to everyone on the call. So we still have folks joining in, so I just want to go ahead and give people another couple of minutes to hop on and get situated. For everyone who is on the call now, I do want to make sure that you're able to use the GoToWebinar question box feature. This is within the GoToWebinar panel. This will essentially be our chat feature for today so that you'll be able to see all the responses that you put into that question box. You won't be able to chat with other attendees, but it will be your chat feature for the day in order to ask us questions and engage with us. So to get us all started, let's practice using the question box. I'd love for you to open that up, say hello, and then let me know where you are calling in from today. This is one of my favorite parts. I love to see where everybody is coming from. One of my favorite things about these webinars is that they connect people from all different corners of the world for just one common goal, which is to improve your marketing, to grow your business. So I'll call out some of the responses as they come in. I just want to see who we have here today, who's calling in. For example, I'm calling in from Louisiana. I'm based out of North Louisiana. I was born and raised here. Let me know where you're from. Did anyone happen to see the eclipse? I'd love to know that. Let's see, we've got Colorado, Quebec, love it. North Carolina, hello from Miami. I see Michigan, Arizona, Tyler. Oh, you're so close to me. How much fun. Charlotte, North Carolina, some more Miami, Massachusetts. Awesome. This is so much fun. Hi, Alberta, Canada. This is great. We've got a really good crowd here. Good Lord, you guys are from everybody. Boca, Florida, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I know you guys missed the eclipse. I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry. It was pretty cool. All right, this is awesome. Tons of people are typing in right now. I would love to call each one of you out, but there's folks from all over, as you noticed. I called out some places twice, some places I couldn't even get to them because everybody was typing in so quickly. But again, all of this is for that same common goal. You're all showing up to better your marketing, to grow your business. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to kick off the webinar with a couple of housekeeping items. For everyone on the call today, note that this will be recorded. That's probably one of our top questions. You don't have to worry about taking notes. I talk really quickly, and I would hate to have to take notes off of the way that I talk, but don't worry, you'll get slides and you'll get the recording. All the materials will go to your inbox later today, and that includes, again, a copy of the slides and the recording. So note, all of our webinars are actually recorded, and they can be really easily found on WordStream and LocalIQ YouTube channels. So all you have to do is navigate to YouTube, type in LocalIQ or WordStream, click on one of our channels, and you'll be able to see all of our past webinar recordings. So if you want to catch up on any of our old ones or view this one again, you can find it there later on today. Also, the reason why I have you all practice using that question box is I want you to feel comfortable typing your questions in throughout the webinar. Be sure to stick around because we'll have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and you'll be able to ask all of your questions in what feels like a very one-on-one setting. Again, we have a digital presence expert that's going to be joining us here today. She'll be joining us throughout the presentation, giving commentary and insight on what she sees happening on social media platforms, but then she'll also be with us for the Q&A afterwards. If you have attended any of our webinars in the past, you know that these Q&A sessions can be in depth, and they're a unique experience to just be able to talk to someone, again, in what feels like a one-on-one setting. So you can throw your questions into the chat, save them till the end. Hopefully we'll be able to get to them. So for anyone who's on, if you're a new friend with us, if you're maybe joining us again, I want us to all be on the same page of who Local IQ is. Some of you might already be working with us and know us by that name, and that's wonderful. Some of you might be totally new, and that's great too. Some of you might be familiar with us through our thought leadership brand or some of our free resources that are on WordStream by Local IQ. So how does all of this fit together? So Local IQ is a fully integrated growth marketing platform, and we combine technology and expertise, much like from what you'll hear later on in just a second from our guest, to equip any business to be able to prosper. How do we do this? So technology, again, is at the core of everything that we do. Our platform runs on optimization technology and AI. It's informed by over 1 million Local IQ campaigns, and so it includes data that you're not going to find anywhere else. And we have all of this at your fingertips in one place. We give you the tools that you need to make the daily task of marketing a lot faster and a lot efficient. So we're putting time back into your day so you can focus on managing your business, managing your team, rather than focusing on all the attention that marketing requires. And finally, we've been in the marketing game for over 15 years, which, if you think about it, is about the age of digital marketing. So it's really not much older than that. We've been through it all the ups, all the downs, and all the shifts in the landscape and platforms. And we're here to tell that story to the benefit of your business. One thing we're really proud of is that we're a premier partner for all major advertising platforms. You can see that we have Google Premier Partnership, Microsoft Elite Partner, and Meta Facebook Business Partner. This isn't something that is granted to any marketing platform out there. It's really only given to businesses that display a clear campaign success for their customers. Thought leadership within the field, and then we meet a rigorous set of requirements for each platform and to be able to claim each one of those badges. So a little bit about me. If you were on last month's webinar, we met for the first time, and so it's wonderful to be back. I am Katie, and I'll be your webinar host and facilitator for the day. It's wonderful to be back again. Here at Local IQ, I work closely with our teams to connect them with their own target audiences, to help them with the strategies for how to get our technology and our platform into the hands of businesses. I've lived a few past lives in public relations and at agencies, but for the last 10 years or so, I've been working in one capacity or another in digital marketing, equipping sales teams, agencies, individual businesses, all with what they need to be able to succeed. And again, if you couldn't tell by my accent or the speed at which I talk, I'm located in the southern US in Louisiana. I always tell people it's not the fun part of Louisiana. I'm about 5 hours north of New Orleans. But somebody mentioned the eclipse earlier. We did get 97% totality, so not to brag, it was pretty cool. So that might be our claim to fame for just a little bit. And then next, I'm going to bring on our guest speaker and let her introduce herself. Hey, Bailey.
Hello. Hi, thank you, Katie. So I'm Bailey. I am a senior manager on our digital presence team, and I'm just so excited to be here and talk about social media marketing today. So my career has always had some aspect of social media marketing tied into it for the past 12 or so years. And then I have started at Local IQ almost exactly 9 years ago. I think my anniversary is in 4 days. April 15th will be 9 years here at Local IQ. And I started on the organic social team and now currently managing a team who works on our clients' digital presence campaigns. So that includes social media marketing and SEO and some other digital presence aspects such as websites and listings. But I definitely have a passion for this topic. I love the variety, the continuous change that happens in the social media landscape, and also just an avid social user myself. So an appreciation from both the side of a marketer and a consumer. And I am based in Dallas, and not to outdo you, Katie, but we had full totality, the eclipse, and it was incredible. I was like, one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life. I took the day off. We went and set up at a park, had our glasses, me and my family, and it was just blew me away. Absolutely.
Oh, what a good core memory. You can outdo me if you
Yeah,
do that. That's
it was.
good.
I think I'll chase them if I can the next one.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to go to like France or Australia in the next one.
Make it worth it. I like it. All right. And then just a quick reminder, so we do have the chat feature turned off, but our chat feature is technically the question box. So I see some of you throwing some questions into there now, but if you have something or want to engage with us, use that question box, and that's how you'll be able to do it. So I cannot wait to dive into the topic today with Bailey. But before we do, I have just a couple more things I wanted to mention. Another common question that we get about these webinars is where can you learn more about the topics that we cover? So this hour is going to go by really quickly. And again, I talk quickly. So if you ever feel like you need more time to sit with the information that we're covering today or any of the topics that we cover on our webinars, I highly recommend that you navigate to Local IQ or WordStream websites. We cover everything in these webinars in depth over there as well, and on our social media channels. So you can be sure to follow us there. We share out notifications for future events. If you want to join more webinars, definitely be sure to follow us and turn on your post notifications. We'll also share out any sort of platform updates that we do, interesting articles, and a lot more information that you should be aware of. So you can find Local IQ on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. And you can find WordStream on LinkedIn, X, Facebook, and YouTube. All right. So again, go to that question box. Let's get warmed up. If you've been on any of our webinars in the past, you know I like to keep everyone on their toes. I don't want anyone getting too tired. So let's warm up the topic today. We're going to hit you with a quick pop quiz. So type into the question box, let me know what's your favorite social media platform to use. It can be for personal use. It can be for business or your job. Maybe you go to one app for a specific kind of content. I personally favor Instagram. It's really clean and simple, and I have curated a very nice feed of pretty pictures. And so I love to just go there and not have anything too serious. Bailey, what about you? What's your favorite?
Instagram, but TikTok is a very close second. If we were looking at my time spent in social apps, TikTok continues to grow.
To download TikTok. I don't think I'd ever get anything done again.
Yeah, I don't know if I would advise against it or not. It's almost too much fun.
All right, let's see what we got here. We've got Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, those are my people. Let's see, YouTube, TikTok for the bravest. Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, tons of responses. Everyone's very passionate about their favorite social platforms. Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook or Instagram. Yes, this is great. You get the most interaction on Facebook, but personally like Reddit. I've been getting a lot of Reddit results in my search feed lately, so that's been interesting. All right, so I wish that I could call every single one of you out. There's a ton of similarities, but there's also a lot of different answers, and there were some variables. Depending on this, I like this platform. That just goes to show you everyone has a slightly different response. Everyone has a slightly different perspective. That's because each platform is unique and each of your needs is unique. So for your business, that means that all your teams, your bandwidth, your resources, they're all going to be a little different. So as we're going through some of these generalized best practices and things to know, I want you to continue to be thinking about how it would apply to your specific business and your specific situation. At the end of the day, everyone's going to have a different experience on social platforms. But just start putting those things into your mind about how you can apply it to your business. And again, if you have questions, drop it into the question box. Okay, on the agenda, first up, we're going to look at what are the most popular social media platforms in 2024, based on a couple of different criteria. We'll splice and dice it a little bit. Then we're going to look at what each platform is popular for, how to utilize them for your business, tips and tricks, And then we're going to finish out each one with a list of key industries. Then after that, we'll talk about the main things to remember. Like I said, it's going to be a ton of information, so we'll sort of package it up into some 3 thought starters for you, and then we'll get into our live Q&A. So let's get started. One of the things that makes social media so different from search or other digital channels is that there are so many platforms. There's a lot of options, and the advertising market within those platforms is vast. So let's start there. Let's get a feel for how big this ad market is. These numbers are really hard to kind of wrap your head around. They're so big that they're almost not real. And from my own personal experience, I relate to the overall popularity of social media. We've got 3.9 billion people worldwide that are on social media. Of those in the US, 223 million. And they're spending about 2.5 hours a day on average on social media. Bailey and I were talking, and I know that I'm not the only one that ignores my screen time report every Sunday from my phone. Everyone just kind of dismisses it. So Bailey, you live in this world. This is what you do every day. What do you see when you see these numbers?
Yeah, so I like to keep a pulse on these numbers, right? I present on these in various ways over the years, but in doing that, what's really stood out to me is how quickly these numbers have grown, and by such substantial numbers. That worldwide number grew by 1 billion in just a few years. And then US went up by over 20 million in just a few years. And then that time spent on went up by half an hour. So that's continuing to grow and in significant amounts. What you're saying, like my time on social media went up by 30 minutes at least from TikTok alone. But really this just goes to show that like your customers are actively on social media, and it's just a place that business should be too.
Absolutely. And that's actually a great segue into what we're going to talk about next. So we know how popular social media is. We just looked at the numbers that back that up. But if you're a marketer, where do you need to be? So these are the most popular platforms if this is your role as a marketer, or if you're a business owner and you're acting as a marketer. As those advertising on the platforms, these are the ones that are winning out. So you can see the top 4: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I believe Facebook continues to be the reigning champion on this list, but really everybody is sort of just swapping places here and there. So because of that, because there's movement within this list, the players don't change, just their positions usually do. We're going to narrow it down a little bit. We're going to look at what each platform is popular for, because they're not all popular for the same thing. So we're going to start off at the top of the list. We're going to look at Facebook and what it is the most popular platform for. So did you happen to know Facebook is right up there with Google My Business as one of the top local business directories? I didn't know that. 60% of Facebook users visit a local business page at least once a week. And if you think about it, you think about what a Facebook business page contains, that's not a huge surprise. Things like the description, category, contact info, hours, photos. If I'm going to go somewhere for the first time, I usually want to know what I'm walking into. And there's always a call to action button. There's reviews that are super helpful. And so all of this combined makes these business pages super incredibly useful. So you want to be sure to promote your page. If you don't have one, you want to go ahead and build one. Use it to build relationships in that space, keep customers updated, and it's a great way to connect with the local community. Through just this one feature, you'll be able to increase your user visits and just visibility. So while your business page is a popular place for anyone who wants to know some information about your business, the Facebook platform isn't really for reaching new audiences organically. That's not really what it's known best for. Its organic reach is just 2.2% if you compare that to Instagram, which is at like 9.4. But thanks to its size and its targeting capabilities, Facebook is tied with Google as a top digital advertising platform. So Facebook ads can reach up to almost 37% of the adult population, and you can see there it's even risen to 39%. This is the highest percentage of all social platforms. On average, Facebook user clicks on 12 ads a month, and the volume of impressions can raise your brand awareness, improve your ad performance much more than it would elsewhere. In terms of cost, so average conversion rate and cost per conversion on Facebook is 9.2% and $18.68. This is compared to on Google search, where it's like 4% and $56. Compared to Instagram, Facebook's cost per click and click-through rate is just 49 cents and 3% versus Instagram, which is going to be a little higher. With a lot of media channels, you can advertise directly on the platform itself. This is something that I think tons of people do on their own, but you can also use a platform like we have with Local IQ or a partner because they're able to utilize technology. Like we have XMO technology. If you have a bunch of campaigns, sometimes it can be really labor intensive to advertise directly onto the platform. So those are some things to think about when you're looking at Facebook advertising. So don't let Facebook's low organic reach deter you from using it to engage with your audience. It's a great place to do that. Many people will often use a business's page to check on announcements, store closings. We had really bad weather here this week, and so a lot of businesses were having to close due to flooding or have limited hours. They used their pages to update those hours and that information, as well as just like general post. If you use your page like this, your customers and your followers are going to know to check your page frequently, and they won't have to worry about it as much, or you won't, with it showing up in their feed, because we know a lot of things can get lost in the feed. So then you're able to cater your post to the quality of traffic you're getting to your page. So you can spark discussions, go back and forth with individuals, encourage direct messaging. Maybe there's something that you need to take offline and speak to someone about. Maybe they had an experience that you want to deal with. Bailey, you and I were actually talking about this before the webinar, and you have a great firsthand experience with a business on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I was telling Katie that there is a baby pajama brand that I really love, and I actually discovered it first through an Instagram post from a friend. So like my entire journey with this brand has been through social media, but they have their own VIP Facebook group. So, and this group has a very, very strong community behind it. So this brand will offer like exclusive deals or first dibs on sales to this group, but it's also a place where like the customers, we would ask each other questions and like about the products, share pictures of the things that we bought or like the prints that we really liked. And then the brand did a really good job as well of responding to posts within this group. So even if there were just questions about shipping times or an occasional complaint or just general questions, the brand did a really good job of answering those and getting back to this community. So for me personally, like being involved in this online community for this brand, it made me a much more loyal customer. And I definitely probably spent more money with them than I would have if I wasn't a part of this group and this community, and I wasn't getting access to these exclusive deals or seeing the cute pajamas someone else scooped up for their kids. So it really created a more involved customer out of me, more loyal, and spending more money with them from that community that they built on Facebook.
Yeah, and it's kind of genius that they even labeled it the VIP group. I mean, that name in itself creates this exclusivity and really gets people engaged, especially if they know that there's going to be discount codes dropping. So that's a great tip for folks out there. All right, so top industries for Facebook ads based on the leads objective are dentists, dental services, industrial and commercial, arts and entertainment, and real estate. I can tell you from experience as a mom of young kids, I see tons of dental industry content on Facebook, especially pediatric dentistry. So they're all over it, using it organically to show off, you know, Clean Smile Award winners, or they've got paid tactics for special offers. And so it's a great way to engage that audience, and moms love to share pictures of their kids. So they're gonna scoop those up and share them. All right, next up is Instagram. So let's take a look and see what Instagram is the most popular platform for. So the Instagram cost may be higher than Facebook, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good channel for paid social advertising. So purchase intent is going to be highest on Instagram. They've got 36% of users using it to follow brands specifically. Again, I attest to that. Instagram also has the highest organic engagement rate between users and brands, It's 10 times greater than the engagement rate on Facebook with brands, 54 times greater than Pinterest, and then 84 times greater than X. I think those stats sort of give you a sneak peek into what each of those platforms is really useful for. When it comes to brands and products, Instagram overwhelmingly makes users feel more connected to the brands that they follow. It helps them research, discover new services, and it very heavily will influence purchase decisions. So that's what makes it a really great fit for e-commerce. It's also great for organic engagement with customers and potential customers. So at 9.4%, not only does Instagram have the highest organic reach of all social platforms, it also has the highest organic engagement rate. So some ways that you can increase that engagement rate on Instagram is include hashtags in your tagged location in your post. That makes it easier for people to search and find you. Use keywords in your profile. Again, when people are searching for certain things, it'll make your profile pop up. And then be consistent in your activity. I think we've all learned the word algorithm. I think we all know what it means. And that consistency of post and activity is going to make you show up on people's feeds more. And then lastly, for Instagram, it's popular for influence marketing, but it's not your typical influencers. So this is local influencer marketing, and it's making its way onto the platform. And Bailey, I think you have a really good insight into what this looks like for customers. Oh, you're on mute. See, it happens to everyone. Punch your bingo cards. We'll give her just a second to try to figure that out. You with us, Bailey? No, we lost volume. Okay, we're gonna let Bailey troubleshoot that, but what I'll steal some of her thunder. So she had some really interesting insight into that shift from influencer marketing. We think of the large scale, almost celebrity influencers who are on our social feeds, and a lot of us, we start following them when they're just starting out. So we appear as one way, they appear very approachable, but then as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, they almost seem unattainable. And so there's this shift in the way that audiences are viewing them. They're called mega influencers. What we're talking about here are something called micro influencers. And more local marketers are shifting towards that because they actually carry more influencers. They've got smaller followings, but they have a much more relatable content. And I think that with those followers, they have a lot more influence over what they're doing. Their lives look more similar to the audience that you're targeting, and they're more likely to have trust in those recommendations that they're making because they're less likely to constantly be pushing some sort of ad or special within those feeds.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. I don't know what I think
it's you. Add to anything that I missed talking about local influencers.
No, I think you totally covered it, right? It's just the shift in trust. The bigger you get as an influencer, the less relatable you are to the common customer. So that trust kind of starts to go away, and that's why there's more of an emphasis on those micro influencers. So exactly what you said.
Exactly. So for top industries, you can see that we've got 3 different categories on this one. It's a little bit all over the place. And so Bailey, I wanted you to explain a little bit why that is with this particular platform.
Yeah, I mean, I find these stats to be really interesting. I think it also goes back to why Instagram has gained traction and become number 2 as the most popular platform for marketing, right? There's a vast variety of industries that are finding success on Instagram, as you can see from the numbers on this slide. And so I think that the kind of broadness of these industries really emphasizes how important it is to have a tailored strategy to your own industry and business so that doesn't get lost in the other, since there is such a vast variety.
Great. All right, let's look at our next platform. Let's talk about X or Twitter or whichever one you want to call it.
Yeah.
So in terms
I don't
of
know
marketing,
if I'll ever get used to calling it X.
Nobody will. We constantly have to put it like this. So in terms of marketing ROI for Twitter, 40% of users have purchased a product after seeing it on the platform, which makes it popular among marketers. So let's see specifically what it's useful for. First up is customer service. So 2 out of 3 people actually prefer to use X as their social media channel for customer care. And over to the right, you can see a funny back and forth exchange between a customer and a brand. But Bailey, what are you seeing from businesses that you work with?
So I think this is one of my favorite aspects of social media marketing. It's that community building, but it's also this customer service piece that really falls under how social media marketing is unique in that it's two-way communication. And that's different from other types of marketing, other types of advertising, where you're just sort of delivering a message to your audience. But with social media and social media marketing, you can also receive messaging from your audience. So I really can't emphasize how important it is to listen and respond to your audience online, especially this customer service aspect. Even if someone comes in with a complaint or they're upset about something, that's public. Other people can see that. They can also see the business's response to it and how they handled it. And that it's just such a great way to foster trust and loyalty, but also show your audience how you handle this type of communication back and forth online.
I agree. When I think of response rates, I think of Twitter being the fastest if I was going to message a brand. So I completely agree with that. So videos get favorited more than images, but images get 128 more retweets than videos. So if you're wanting to expand reach on X, then I say go with pictures. But just remember, each platform has its own specs that you're going to want to adhere to. Nobody wants to spend time on creative and then post it and then see it distorted. So just be sure to check all of those when you're building out your creative and your content. All right, Instagram is popular with a very specific demographic. So you can see it's mostly male, most have a college degree at a certain earning potential. 42% between 18 to 29. They live in the burbs. If you sort of combine all of that together, you can start to build a persona of what is the most common X user. It's going to be a college educated, left-leaning man who has a college degree and lives in the suburbs. So Bailey, this is a really specific makeup. Knowing this, how do you advise your own customers in your role when they're looking to advertise on X?
I would say don't let the very specific demographic of Twitter kind of scare you off of it, right? It's still important to build out a strategy that fits your own ideal customer or your own audience on Twitter as well. So a lot of people will come onto Twitter, like we saw with like the customer service, just as a way to specifically communicate with a business or look up a business, even if they aren't regular users. So you still want to be able to capture those conversations and those moments and still have a presence on Twitter and be checking it regularly. And you don't necessarily have to target it to this exact demographic because your audience can still get on, even if it's not as often. That's still a way to capture the audience.
Yeah, that's really good insight because each platform is going to have sort of a cookie cutter demographic. But that's really good insight to not let that scare you off. You just want to be strategic in how you put resources towards each platform.
Exactly.
So for our top industries for Twitter, these are not a surprise considering the demographic persona that we just saw. As with any platform, most businesses can find a way from benefit from marketing on Twitter, but it's about how effectively you use it. There are some categories that seem to have more success than others. Verticals with the highest engagement rates on X are going to be education, sports teams, food, beverage, alcohol. That again, that aligns with what we just talked about with that persona. Bailey, what are your thoughts here when you look at these industries?
I think like even if your business isn't in one of these categories, you can still capitalize on the engagement by sort of using them as topics or tailoring your message around current events and trends. And that's what Twitter/X is really good at, is capturing conversations that relate to what's going on in the current culture, what's a top news story or something like that, and finding a way to kind of hop into those discussions is a great way to utilize Twitter as well. And I think even just looking at like these top 2 industries that get the most engagement, like March Madness just happened, right? Like that's higher education and sports. So those are the kind of topics and categories that are going to get a lot of engagement, and you can jump into those conversations even as a business and capitalize on those engagement rates as well.
That's a really good point. I think this is a good plug for, sometimes you just have to step back and look at your strategy as a whole, and you can play in all of these spaces, but it's just how you do it. And I love that's a really unique hook with March Madness. All right, next is LinkedIn. So this is everyone's favorite business yearbook. So let's talk about what is going to be most popular on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is this professional business-based social media network. So we would hope that it would do really well for B2B marketing. LinkedIn makes up over half of all social traffic to B2B websites and blogs. There are 61 million senior level influencers and 65 million decision makers on LinkedIn, and 80% of B2B leads come from LinkedIn. So it's also really great for employee advocacy. And if you want to encourage your employees to organically, just on their own, promote the brand. This is a way without paid advertising that you can promote your brand. One way that you can do this is to build a company page that includes pictures of your teams, featured posts, product pages. You can include some call to actions. It's a really great way to humanize your business and also attract top talent if you're needing help recruiting. All right, so it's no Instagram, but LinkedIn's organic engagement rate, again, this is the engagement that you're not paying for. This is just people commenting on posts, things like that. It is double that of Facebook, which makes sense. This is people who are using the platform for a specific business purpose in their networking. So they're going to be a little more receptive to posts and messages. Also, LinkedIn has fewer posts per day and fewer members than Facebook. So the competition's lower. You can see here that 95% of B2B content marketers use LinkedIn as an organic marketing channel. Bailey, what do you think it is that makes that number so high? 95% is a huge amount.
I think a lot of what you're saying, right? LinkedIn is an audience or a group of users that are trusted professionals. They're looking to form relationships. There's naturally less amount of spam, fewer fake accounts, right? And it's kind of leading it to being a more trusted source for content. So that's going to contribute to that higher engagement rate. I think that just this audience is a lot more dialed in and a lot more incentivized when they get onto LinkedIn.
Agree. When I go to bed at night, I don't scroll LinkedIn to just like mindlessly go through. That's for another platform. You're right. LinkedIn you're much more focused when you're on there.
Exactly.
All right, so lastly for LinkedIn is long form content. So these are article post types that are up to 2,000 words, and they receive the most engagement through things like views, likes, comments, shares. Bailey, what do you think is the reason behind this on LinkedIn?
I think exactly what you said about it's not casual scrolling, right? It's that more dialed in audience. They're not jumping in at the end of the night just to scroll through and kind of turn off their brains. They're actively seeking out more educational, more informative information, or they're more incentivized to grow their skills, find a new job, excel in their business, things like that. So I think that just the last stat of it being a higher engagement rate for organic ties right back into this long form content because they're taking the time to stop and actually read articles or things that are a little more dense. And it doesn't surprise me at all that long form content really thrives on LinkedIn. That's definitely a strategy that we give to our customers and our clients as well. Is this is the best spot. This is the home for long form content is on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So let's take a look at the top industries for LinkedIn. The most popular categories based on user count are IT, hospital health, construction, retail, and then education. IT in particular makes up 4% of all profiles on LinkedIn, which if you've perused LinkedIn, you've probably seen some of these. So Bailey, why do you think those industries are so prevalent on the platform?
I think like with the top two, IT and healthcare, those are businesses or industries that are often looking to fill short-term positions or contract positions. So they lean very heavily on the recruitment aspect and the recruitment efforts that LinkedIn can provide for them. And then I think with like construction industry, that's heavily B2B as well. So LinkedIn just makes it an ideal place to put out marketing messaging.
Yeah, I agree. That makes sense. All right, so next is TikTok. This is the platform I'm too scared to download because I don't think I would get anything else done. But let's take a look at this. So 60% of TikTok users said their main reason for using the platform was for entertainment. So I think entertainment and emotional content is what is going to perform really well on this platform. They want to see funny and entertaining videos. Other reasons that users stated was inspiration, self-expression, trend updates, and just socializing. Nearly 50% of the best performing ads on TikTok have an emotional drive to them. So that's really the vibe you want to go with when you're thinking of advertising or having a presence on TikTok. It's going to need to be on the lighter side with just real and relatable content that is just lighthearted and positive. TikTok is very popular right now. You hear it all over the place, and it's very popular in the marketing space. Obviously, we want to meet people where they are. But it's a platform that you shouldn't really jump into without some thought. What suggestions do you have, Bailey?
So I wouldn't take like existing videos that you use on Instagram or Facebook and just put them up on TikTok and think that they'll translate exactly the same. Like with TikTok, the key to being successful is to really tap into or utilize the trends that are happening in the moment, or using those popular sounds. Even if it's something kind of silly that maybe doesn't relate to your business, it's still utilizing those popular sounds, making sure you're working with the algorithm of TikTok. And so I think when businesses do this creatively and correctly, it's really a way to expand their online presence and capture a new audience. But it just has to be tailored to what's popular, what's trending on TikTok, and not just copy and pasting the same type of messaging from other platforms.
Yeah, it goes back to forming that strategy. So it's no surprise the top industries for TikTok are beauty, fashion, jewelry, art. Is this what you see on your side too, Bailey?
Definitely, but again, I don't want this to scare people away, because I've also seen on TikTok lawyers, doctors. There's even like a lawn maintenance account that has blown up and sees a lot of success in just finding like their niche and creating a huge audiences on TikTok. So it really goes back to, if you're strategizing right, you have the correct approach, the correct content, then TikTok can be successful for almost any industry.
Okay, and our last platform is Snapchat. So one of the most common Facebook video ad tips is to optimize for muted viewing. But for Snapchat, 64% of video ads are watched with the sound on. So this is a really good opportunity to use music and create a more immersive experience. This is a very visual platform. And also the demographic for Snapchat isn't what you would traditionally think. I think for a long time, it's skewed very, very young. But now over 50% of Snapchat users are between the ages of 26 and 55. It's also a really great platform for location-based marketing. This is where businesses can use geo-filters to create audiences out of real-world visits rather than likes or follows. So it's a great way to make sure that you're reaching the right audience at the right time and delivering a relevant message. So in addition to geo-filters, Snap offers Snap Map. That's what you're seeing on the screen. This is a location sharing feature that users can use to find nearby other users or businesses. So according to Snap, there are more than 350 million users that use Map on a monthly basis. And some tips if you're looking at getting into that is make sure that your business location is listed on Map. And then there's a feature where you can share to our story option, and it allows others to share as well. So if they visit your location, they can take a snap and share it to your location on the map. Again, sort of similar to TikTok. They want to feel, Snapchat users want to feel good. They want to come to the platform And typically, when they're there and they see content, they feel silly, creative. They want to spend more time on it, which is vastly different than what the other platforms are associated with, that type of content. 71% of social media users feel positive emotions when using the app. So these positive emotions then can translate over to your brand. They can influence how people view your brand and your ads. With brands on Snapchat, they're seen as more relatable and less dated, and ads are definitely more playful than competitive. All right, in top industries that can benefit the most from Snapchat geo-filters are restaurants, concerts, schools and universities, gyms, and salons. In addition, this is for a very specific kind of business, but beauty and personal categories see 6 times more effective ads on Snapchat versus TV when they're using some of those Snapchat AI features. So Bailey, what advice do you have, or what thoughts do you have about Snapchat for advertisers?
So with Snapchat, I'm gonna kind of go against what I said on some of the other platforms, where I do feel this one's very industry specific to these top industries. And I feel like if your business falls into these top industries, it would make a lot of sense to invest heavily in marketing on this platform, because these specific industries do very well. The demographic that is on Snapchat is very receptive of that type of business, that type of content. So that's something that should definitely be part of a marketing plan. I feel like if your business kind of falls outside of these parameters, then I would continue to invest marketing in the previous platforms.
That's very good guidance. All right, we just flew through a ton of information. So now let's package it all together into something that you can actually use to kickstart some ideas for your own business. So first up, know your audience. Know who you want to speak to outside of the platform's primary user base, kind of like what Bailey said. Don't be scared off by some of the industries. Don't be scared off by the demographics. You just want to be smart and strategic about where you're putting those resources. Also, don't do it all. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Your business may not align with the content types or attributes of every social platform. And then probably most importantly is just test and track. It's a good reporting platform is going to show you where you're having success and where you might need to shift some of those resources. Again, this was a ton of information, and I'm sure there are a lot of questions. I've been seeing the chat go crazy as we've been talking. So I'm going to launch a poll across everyone's screen here. And if you feel like you want to use social media a little differently, if you want to look at including some of these platforms into your marketing mix, or even just evaluate an overall social strategy, click yes to that poll. Again, I saw a ton of specific questions coming through, and this would be your chance to get those questions answered with one of our experts. Some questions are just so specific to your business that we can't answer those in front of a large group and really give you the information that you need. And so clicking yes to that poll will give you that conversation time in order to get those questions answered and sort of build a strategy for your business. So I'm going to leave that poll up. This poll is going to take over your full screen, and it will remain there for the rest of the webinar. So this switches us over to the audio portion. Once you answer that poll, you can sit back, relax, listen in on the Q&A portion of the webinar. So while everyone's answering the poll and sitting back, let's go ahead and dive into the Q&A. All right, Bailey, we have a ton of questions in here and a lot of people wanting to know how they can apply social for their business. Let's take a look at some of the things that we have here. Let's see. So we have questions about specific industries. Do you have any advice for businesses looking to expand on TikTok? This business in particular is nervous about being taken seriously if they start making fun content. What sort of information do you have about that, Bailey?
I think that, that's a good point. It's always good to stay true if you have like a business tone that you want to make sure that you're always applying. But I think with TikTok, right, it's kind of a different audience than what you would be putting on Facebook. So maybe if you put like a silly video on Facebook, it wouldn't land as well. But I think it's okay to get a little less serious on TikTok, because that's what that audience is looking for, and that's what they're going to engage with. So as long as you keep the messaging consistent per platform, then I think you can get away with being a little less serious on TikTok, because that's how you're going to get the better performance within that specific platform.
All right, so then our next question is, this business is wanting to grow on Instagram and increase their sales there. What would you say is like the number one or number two way that a business should go about doing that?
I would say actively posting, and Instagram is very heavily visual, right? So making sure that you're using high quality imagery, that not stock imagery or anything like that, but something that really captures the eye, that the audience can resonate with or relate with, very kind of aesthetically pleasing, right? Like Katie even talked about, she's mastered how her own page looks, her own feed. So I think the way to really dive into Instagram is to make sure that the imagery is optimized for that platform, but also making sure that you're utilizing all of its features, right? Like you can create highlights, you can do stories, so you can be posting constantly. And if someone's following you on Instagram, they're going to be seeing more of you in their stories if you're having consistent posting schedule outside of just the regular feed, but creating those stories, utilizing your highlights as well. And then even with Instagram, like you can tap into hashtags more than you could on Facebook. There are just other ways to be more visible than other platforms.
That's good info. That's good tips. So our next question coming in is, let's see. So someone is asking about hiring someone to help with social media advertising and sort of like what the options are there. I would say that that's when working with a third party, a platform like Local IQ is what is really beneficial, because you have experts like Bailey who are sort of working through all this data and helping guide those decisions. I know it can feel really overwhelming when you look at all of the different platforms and the stats and the demographics and the content. It's a lot to take on when you're a business owner, especially when you're a business owner and you're wearing a million other hats. And so there's definitely options out there for people if you would like to have someone manage that advertising on social, because they can not only put you on the best platforms, they can continue to optimize those campaigns. All right, let's see what else we've got. Whew, there's so many questions coming in. All right, let's see. Keep them coming. Keep putting your questions in. Again, if we can't get to all of them, you can always click yes on that poll, and you'll be able to speak to someone directly without and being able to get into the specifics of what you have. Someone asked how to tackle multi-platform content creation without a large team. Bailey, do you have any insight into that? I have some thoughts, but I just wanted to see what you were thinking.
Yeah, so a lot of times, like when you're building out a content calendar, I think it's really helpful to start with the theme of your post, right? So you still have the same idea, the same theme that's going across the different platforms, so you don't have to change it that drastically, but then you just tailor the content to the platform. So, with Instagram, you need to optimize that imagery. You can add hashtags. Same with Twitter. That's different from what you would do on Facebook, or maybe you need to cut the video a little shorter from Facebook to Instagram, but still that topic, that theme is the same. So you're not having to generate completely new ideas. You're just optimizing that topic per platform.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than having to start from scratch. So I think I agree with you. Start once and then you can iterate. I had someone come into the question box and they were asking about threads. Bailey, do you have a lot of experience with this, or just personally, or some thoughts you have just living in that world?
Yes, so Threads has not made a marketing advertising friendly platform at this time. So that's kind of, we haven't dabbled in it, right? They haven't yet rolled out the analytics side of it. It's still very much new. So it's not something that we've really created any sort of plan or best practices around at this time. I do think that it will be coming in the future, especially because it's tied to Instagram, and Instagram's number 2 on that top platforms, right? So it's definitely going to be able to piggyback off of the success of Instagram. And I even see like in my Instagram feed all the time things that are happening on Threads. So from like a personal standpoint, I think as more people are getting used to it, it's definitely like more influencer heavy. So influencer marketing could work on Threads. But as of right now, in terms of like traditional business marketing, it's not as user friendly as these other platforms that we've discussed.
Yeah, I am on Threads, but I mostly just get pushed over there by Instagram suggestions sometimes. So I have a feeling it'll be up and coming. They'll want to make that a better platform for sure.
It's a meta product, right? So it has the support behind it to be successful. That's 1 and 2 are Facebook and Instagram. So it'll get there. It's just still very much in like its newborn phase.
All right, so keep the questions coming in. We have just a couple more minutes. Bailey, I feel like this is a good one for your thoughts. Someone's asking how often to post on Insta feed stories versus reels versus the feed itself, you know, which is performing better, where to put their time and energy. Did I lose you again, Bailey? So GoToWebinar just doesn't like Bailey and the mic. I would say for this, you want to consider one, the audience, but then also what sort of engagement you're wanting to achieve. I know stories are often going to be ranked higher. They're obviously at the top, so they're easier to see. Reels is going to get you a lot more visibility, but they're very time consuming. So if you're starting out on a strategy, I would start first on just building that presence, building that content, and repurposing as much as you can in order to not exhaust some of those resources. So this has been a great conversation. Thank you all so much for joining us today, for taking the time out. Again, this is recorded, and we're going to be sending slides later on this afternoon, so you'll have a copy of all of this. And you can also get it on our YouTube channels, and then we'll be sharing out on our socials. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Bailey, for being here today and sharing all of this great knowledge with us. Have a good one.